Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beauty Topics podcast. I'm your host, Chantel, and I have a very special guest with me today. This is her first time on a podcast, so I'm popping her podcast cherry, too. I'm very excited.
Oh my God,
This is the beautiful Nanci Sanchez. Okay, I actually met you when you were preggers doing a photo shoot. And so I was so excited just to chat with you and get to know you because we had so much fun that day. You were just like the cutest pregnant girl ever. So, but I have her here on the couch today because Nanci is actually a relationship coach. So I really wanted to kind of dive deep into just like relationships, marriage, and just have a chit chat with somebody who has a lot to say on the subject. Hi, Nanci.
Hi everyone. Oh my God. Let me just tell you, yes, this is my first time. I'm really excited. And it's like, this is going to be like the couch that we're going to just dive in.
And I love the outfit because my stylist, Kobe, would be so happy. The girl has on the teal pantsuit with the sweetheart neckline. Then she has on the houndstooth blazer in black and white with gold buttons. And I'm here for it. And statement earrings and an updo. She did an updo to come to my house and sit on the couch. I'm so here for it. I love it. I love it.
I'm off work today, so I'm going to do it all.
Well, you look stunning, my darling.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I just really want to just jump right in and just find out what inspired you to just want to help relationships, families, do coaching. What kind of inspired you on this path?
Okay. So I will start, honestly, I was the girl in high school who never dated, didn't have a boyfriend, okay? But everyone would come to me. They would come to me for the advice. And, I would always pour out, the things that I saw, the good things. And I literally remember, when they would break up, I would be the one they would call next and be like, hey, so-and-so. And even though they had fights and argument, and we were in high school, right?
Yeah.
But it was just that passion of helping them. And just seeing them, okay, I'm over it, on to the next kind of thing. But that really was a thing for me. And I just think that it's always been, but I always felt like, no. I have to have this perfect relationship. Otherwise, I can't help someone else, right? But that's not the truth. And I'm not saying my relationship, I'm married now. I have 2 little kids. And I can't say my life is unhappy. I am in a healthy marriage, but it was because I put in the work. I put the tools in and buckle them in kind of thing. But it just started from the beginning. And so it was kind of I kind of tried to remove myself. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then it just keeps, my message is more clear about marriage, about relationship than anything else.
Yes.
So then I'm like, okay, maybe this is my calling and I just need to go for it.
Lean into it.
Yeah. Instead of being so scared because the self-doubt, the maybe next year. We could do it next year. Oh, I got small kids. Let me just, wait on it. So it just so happened. And now it's just I really love it. And I'm like, this is it. This is what I really want. So I'm hoping that in 3 years, I could really commit to
you want to do it full time?
Full time,
Yes.
remove myself from the corporate world kind of thing. But yeah, for sure.
I hear you. I know it's nice to be able to, I remember knowing that when I was done with corporate for good, it's a very, very good feeling. But it's one of those things where you just have to put in so much work to build up your business. And girl, it is something else. But I want to know a little bit about right now, the state of your business. When someone comes to you and they're like, look, I want to sit down, have a consultation with you and just talk about some things that I'm going through. What does that look like?
Okay, so we'll first start off by a free consultation. Basically, we will connect. We'll have a whole hour together just to find out what are you looking for? Am I a great match for you? And if I'm not a great match, I will be honest about it and allow you to find someone else where I know other people that are doing it and maybe they have a different view of exactly what you're looking for. But I start off by the free 1 hour coaching of really diving in, what are you looking for? Let's just say example is I'm really struggling with arguing on a regular day to day. We're arguing about the smallest thing, but it really affects me. So let's dive deeper, right? So the consultation is basically free for 1 hour. We'll just get to know each other, find if we were a good fit, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Now, after that, the offer would be like we will connect bi-weekly. And then from that bi-weekly, I am available via text and voice messages in between the sessions.
Okay.
And the sessions would be like an hour every bi-weekly, basically.
Okay. So you're all about cultivating better relationships, especially within the home with your spouse, your partner, whatever the case may be. What are some things we can do, especially in the beginning? Like it's engagement season. There's a lot of newlyweds out there. What are some things that they can do like in the beginning to make sure that they are cultivating a really good relationship? Because I think some people they want to have a wedding and they don't necessarily want to have a marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, first of all, congratulations of even getting to that stage of like getting married, right? But we do all this work to get there, right? We become the best version of ourselves to find a best version of the guy that we love, and we cultivate there, right?
Right.
And then we get consumed of the wedding day, which is one day, right? But we need to invest in actually tools that are going to help us for our marriage, for the things that we are going to grow together,
Right.
For example, I remember like me being married to my husband. It was like he had bad credit, right? But that didn't stop me of not marrying him, right? But I will say, like, now we build together. So sometimes it's not based on the resume of the check mark, right? He has, he's tall, dark hair, check. We're gonna look great together, and we're gonna have cute babies together. Like there is more to that in life, in marriage. So instead of investing so much on that day of the wedding, find yourself to talk about finance.
Yes.
Talk about what are your expectations of marriage? Because what if I think finance, I expect him to give me an allowance, and that is not on his plate. He doesn't know that, right? So let's talk about finance. Let's talk about the lifestyle we want. Are we all both working out? Are we consistent about working out? Or what's our wealth lifestyle? You know what I mean? Because that's important.
Right.
We cannot, if someone works out on a regular and I'm a potato in the couch.
Right.
It might just
It can cause a rift.
At some point, right? Maybe not at the beginning, but like there's going to be something that's going to affect us at the end, So it's really important to really invest on prep marriaging, counseling, coaching, therapy. Find something that fits y'all and do it. Like instead of focusing so much on the day of, which is going to be magical, it's going to be beautiful, and you're going to love it. But you really need to consider those tools that are going to come and bring you closer. And like that first couple of years, they're going to be hard because you're bringing two beautiful people together, and we're going to like...
You're combining a life. You're coming together to build this life together. And I think a lot of people forget that. They feel like they're married yet separate, a lot of times.
Yes. And that's when it's like you feel like roommates instead of like really connecting with each other because we have separate everything and we just live together. And it's like, no, combine, make it better. Even like you, I will say, like even saying like how your husband is like, he's helping you with this broadcast and everything. Like he sees that you already have it.
Yes.
And like, this is so powerful, So really investing, I'm not saying don't spend the money that you want for a wedding, but really consider put in a little piece for the tools that will bring you the happiness that you desire.
Right. Because you have to live beyond the wedding. Like you said, the wedding is one day. And I feel like there's so much focus on it. And it's a beautiful event. I agree 100%. But I just think this is about what you're building together and not just this one day that you're spending with your family and your friends.
And like for me, so I'm 2020 pandemic. So I didn't have that beautiful wedding that I always dreamed of. I was a 27 dresses bridesmaid. And so the day that it was coming to me, it was like COVID came and it's like, you could only have 20 people. Oh, 45, 75. And then it's like, you know what? We're just not going to have a wedding because we have a grandma. My best friend was pregnant at that time. Let's just avoid that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I definitely encourage people to invest in something that fits them, Therapy might not be for everyone, but there might be like a a church event where they're talking about marriage, the uncomfortable conversations. Let's get those out of the way before the day of our marriage. So then we proceed and like talk about it more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why do you feel like there's a lot of different communication styles? What are some tools that we can use to help us better communicate with, our partner? And are there going to be clashes with the different ways that people communicate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely even if you think about it, how you talk to your boss, right? I know you're not in corporate America, but like at one point you were, right?
Right.
So how did you talk to your boss? How do you talk to your coworkers? How do you talk to your mom? How do you talk to your siblings? Like, so the conversations, you could have the same situation, but you're talking to them very differently, right?
Right.
And so why is it that your husband gets the worst side of you? Because he lives with you. He sees when you're upset. He sees when you're mad. The aggressiveness of like, you didn't do this. Like, those are the things that we kind of tend to go, right? So there is different ways that we communicate. But I think like because he's your husband, he gets the worst of you.
The short end of the stick.
Yes, because it's like, it's easier, right? Because it's like, this is my closed doors. This is my safe space. And I could do that, right? But we need to, there's aggressive style. I feel like there's 4 different styles. Passive aggressive, when you're like, well, could have, fine, no one's going to get out the trash, so I'll do it, So those are things like, if we could just pause for a second, just pause, take a deep breath, and reflect before we speak to them, speak to our spouse, and allow it to be where it comes from a good place, and we understand we all have tough days, bad days, good days, ugly days, and all that. But if we just take that moment of just pausing, we just have to pause. Life is busy. We get it. We all have a lot in our plate, we just got to pause before we react to any conversation, especially if it's a heated conversation.
Right.
Like, allow yourself to pause and collect your thoughts and really focus on that part of, okay, I'm about to have this really hard conversation that I'm not really comfortable about, but I need to be in my best and not in my worst.
Yes. Because I feel like that is very true. Your demeanor at work and your demeanor at home, of course, is 2 different things, but we oftentimes give our best selves to other people because you want to make a good impression on, other people, and you want to make sure you're making a good impression at work and you're giving 100% at work. And then at home, of course, that's where you want to let go and relax. But I think, it is where you do release that anger and that frustration. And sometimes it's aimed at the person who loves you the most in the world. And that's, I get what I feel you on that one.
And I love how you say, like, you show up your best self to everyone else because you want to represent yourself, right? You're representing you're representing your family. But like, what if you show up the best version of yourself for your husband?
Yes.
How would that change in your house?
Because I think listening is so important. How do we pivot? Because I feel like a lot of times we're listening to just respond, or we're listening to have a comeback, or we're not really listening because we're formulating our comeback to the argument in our head. And so we really didn't hear what this other person was trying to say. Do you know what I mean? How do we stop and pivot and be like, listen to understand and don't listen to have a comeback? Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like we all get caught up in that in the heat of the moment.
Oh, yeah, of course. Especially when you're right? You want to be right.
Yes,
you want to prove it.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
You already know you're right? You know this was right and I'm right.
Yeah, I admit I used to have that really bad in my younger day. I had that really bad. It's like, I'm right. Just be on the side of right with me, but there's more than one way to be right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So definitely the connection. Like, one, we don't have to be right. And it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay if he feels like he has to be right this one time. Allow that to happen. there shouldn't be no chart where it's like tally mark, like, hey, I got this one right. Like, and what about him, right? So that communicate. Even if it's the hardest conversation, have that conversation. Like, and if right there, like when you say like, we're in that moment and we're ready to like just jump. We're ready to just tell him how it is and how we're going to do this. But what if instead we just slow it down? Yeah. I think it's just we're quick to react. We're quick to do everything because we're used to and we want everything so fast. And in reality, we're not microwaves. We don't have to pop that popcorn immediately with 3 minutes, right? What if you need that space at that very moment because you don't know how you're going to respond? Because you might respond in a very ugly way, right?
Right.
Why don't you allow yourself to say, hey, I just need a moment. We could get back to it, right?
Yeah.
That could be a way. Another way could be like taking a deep breath. Another way is really just giving that eye contact and be like, hey, right now is not a good time for me. Because what if you just had a really rough day and you show up at home and it just becomes worse, right? You just got to communicate that part. Like right now, it's not where I can communicate. I can't give you my best self.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's okay to say, I'm not able to communicate effectively right now. I have got a lot going through my head and I just don't have it in me. It's not that I'm dismissing you, but I do need to separate. I need to like take a shower or do something to get my mind right before we have this conversation so it doesn't go into a very dark place. Because you don't want to start to say a bunch of things just to hurt each other because you're angry or you're upset. You know, you don't want to spew that venom.
Yes.
You know,
and especially exactly what you said. Sometimes it's like they know your weakness. So they're going to say the things that you know is your weakness and it's going to hit you even harder. But allowing yourself to be honest to yourself and then be like, hey, I can't right now. Like, let's stop. Right now is not a good time. And I'm not against going to sleep upset because sometimes we do need to go to sleep, reset, reflect, and then reconnect. Because if we're always wanting to be like, no, if I go to sleep angry, there's to the extent, right? The conversation might be leading to, I got to go to sleep and I got to reset and reflect before I talk to you, then let that be. Don't always believe in all these beautiful quotes of don't go to sleep mad because X, Y, and Z, right? But what if that conversation or that situation is just too heavy on you? Yes. That you do need to go to sleep and reflect in the morning. And then, hey, you know what? I'm ready to talk. Let's talk now, you know? But it's what works for you and him. Because we can't have whatever social media tells us. We can't have what my neighbor does. Because what my neighbor does, their circumstance might be very different than me. Their system might be different than mine, right? Maybe they have more help at home. Maybe they pay for laundry to get done. Maybe they pay for someone to clean their house, and I don't. So if me and my husband are fighting because of cleaning my house, our home together, then maybe we need to reflect that whatever they do on their house might not be the same as for us.
Yes. Wow. And that leads me into something I wanted to ask you about too. Because I hear so much about nowadays it says women file for divorce at very high rates. And I was reading like some of the reasons and it said feeling like a married single mom. You know, what are your thoughts on that kind of married single mom like syndrome? How do you set boundaries? How can someone, I just sometimes don't feel like you can force someone to do something. How can you make a man like step up more in the home? Like I was very blessed, you know, it's not something I had to deal with, but I see it. And I've seen friends who have dealt with this and that frustration and they just feel so exhausted and worn out. And I'm like that, just the term of it, I'm like, wow, that really hits the nail on the head. You feel like a married single mom. You're working, you're helping with homework, you're doing dishes, you're doing laundry, all the while somebody is sitting in a recliner watching the game, you know?
Yeah. So first, we got to give them hugs. Give yourself a hug. If you're in that situation right now, hug yourself. because you need it and you deserve it. And can I say a bad word?
Of course you can. Yes, girl.
You're a badass for doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't know why it's happening at that season. Right. And it could be a season. Like for me, my first child, I had a C-section. My husband got COVID. I was by myself. Obviously, no one could help me because he was exposed. I was afraid that I was exposed. So I didn't want to expose anyone else, right? So my season of being alone as a single mom, feeling that way, might be very small to compare to someone else that has experienced it, right? But that feeling is really heavy in your heart. And it's like, you don't know when it's going to end, right? But it's up to you to decide. Let's communicate, right? So to close out my story, like, yeah, the pandemic happened. You know, COVID was just 14 days. So it's different, right? And I can't compare it to someone who has been doing it for many years, many months, that kind of thing. But we have to reflect on what are we wanting, right? I'm not gonna be here and saying, hey, file a divorce today, otherwise you're not gonna be happy. That's not the case. Because if you can't communicate with the one that you have now, what makes you think that you could communicate with someone else, right? And like you said, you were blessed. You had someone that helped. He was hands-on, right? But for those that are feeling or they're right now experience this, how about we have that hard conversation with that husband and say, hey, husband, I know you work and you bring in the income, but I do this and that too. Maybe having that conversation. Let's see what he says. Maybe he doesn't even know that he's not helping, right? Maybe that's the part also. The fact that he grew up seeing that his dad didn't help, then he doesn't have to help, right? But we're in 2025.
Yes.
Things are different.
You
Life
need two
is so
incomes.
busy.
Life is, yes, everybody
We
needs
need
to
two
pitch in.
incomes versus what in the past, maybe one income really did everything that needed, right?
Exactly.
But now, like, you're working, you're doing laundry, you're doing schoolwork, you're doing a lot, right?
Everything.
And you're doing everything by yourself. Yeah, you need a hug.
Yeah, you feel alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like feeling alone is the way that it could happen at any point in life, right? It doesn't have to happen when you feel like you're alone because you're doing it all. It could even be when there's other things happening in your life, right? But if we focus on the situation of, I am married, but I'm doing it all by myself, my husband doesn't help me, then you got to do something about it. Don't complain. Talk to him. Your friend can't help you. He is the only one to help you. Now, if you tried and tried and tried, and he's just not changing, then maybe third party.
Right.
Therapy, coaching, something, right? Seminar. We all say, oh, we don't got money for that. Yes, we do. We could find the money. So let's invest in our marriage. And if it's like, I don't know how to have that conversation, then find someone that could help you have that conversation. So then we could really align it. And sometimes maybe, honestly, maybe there's that naive to know, like, hey, she got it. She got it. Like, I don't need to help her. But hey, we all would love that little help, even if it's getting the breakfast done for our kids or giving me breakfast. You know, if it's just, I don't have kids and I'm still doing everything at home, all the chores, I still want you to help me at one point.
Yeah.
So let's not think of only those that have kids means that you feeling like you're the only one doing everything. Some people don't have kids and they still feel that way.
Right.
So we need to even start there, right? And it could also be when we first got married, we wanted to be this perfect wife and we did everything for our spouse.
And never had the conversation or never set any boundaries or asked for help. I do think it's important that you have to voice what it is that you need, because if you never do that, you can't get mad at someone for not reading your mind. Do you know what I mean? You can't.
Well, no one could really read your mind.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're thinking.
I can't get mad at you because you didn't stop and read my mind and realize I needed help in that moment. You do have to ask for it, because I do feel like, you know, just my opinion, women are more emotionally intelligent. We're more empathetic. So, and we want that reciprocated so badly, but sometimes we have to understand who our partner is. And I know with my spouse, I have to say, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this for me. And they'll be like, okay, I got you. No problem. Like, you have to like voice it sometimes. Cause like you said, everybody grew up differently, you know, but we expect when we're like, if I have 3 bags of groceries in my arms and like, if you walk past me, I'm going to look at you like, are you crazy? Did you just walk past me holding 3 bags of groceries? I feel like it should be automatic for you to like, oh, let me take that load from her and bring that in the house. You know, we want that automatic help, but sometimes it's not like front of their mind. No. So it's like we have to be vocal and we have to say it. Like, don't get mad that somebody can't read your mind. Just open your mouth and literally spit it out and just say, hey, I need help. And you can say it in a nice way. It doesn't have to be snappy. You can just say, hey, I could really use your help right now. Like, you see, I'm clearly struggling. So please like pay attention to your surroundings and help out wherever and whenever you can.
Yeah.
And that's so it's like the little things. It's just so appreciated. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But even when you said you had your groceries, right? And he passes by you, he might think, oh, she got it.
Yeah. He would never.
You know what I mean? Like,
I would drop the groceries on the ground. I would be something. I would be like, I wouldn't play that. But I have seen, like, I've literally been at the grocery store and I have seen, like, I hate to say it, like, you know, guy, he's just like standing there, like playing on his phone, and his wife is literally like picking up heavy detergent and putting stuff in the back of the car. And I'm just looking at that, like,
why can't he help?
What are you doing? How are you not paying attention to what's going on in front of you? You know, you have this beautiful wife right here and she's lugging the groceries into the car and he just goes, puts the cart away and jumps in the car. And it's just things like that really get under my skin. I guess I really pay attention to those kind of things. I'm very like aware. And it's quite frustrating to me because I see things like that. And I feel like those are little things that build up in a marriage. You know, those are the things that are going to like come out in the end when they finally have that blow up. She's going to say, you don't even help me with the groceries.
Yes.
I was pumping gas, you know, like I was taking out the trash. Like you weren't even man enough to do those things. You know, I feel like that stuff is going to come back to haunt you. If you don't pay attention to your woman and help, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt.
And it has to be you got to start now. You can't wait until that exploration. Like, oh my God, I'm F this and F that. Like,
yes.
You have to speak up.
Yes, you have to.
And let them know. Like, and maybe at that moment you have other things going on, but there has to be a weekly check-in, something that we could connect. And there's I don't have to react as a defensive. Right. He doesn't have to react like, oh, she's getting on to me. Like, what do I got to do now? Oh, or she always wants me to change. No, it's not she always wants you to change. There's some opportunities for growth as a couple.
Yes.
And allow it to be that growth that we need it because we want to be better because our home is a safe space and we want to be allowed and choose love every single time.
Yes.
We can't allow the love outside our house. It's inside our house and it starts from the house inside, not the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was reading one of your posts. You're talking about the silent treatment.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm like, you knew I was going to bring that up. Like, tell me,
okay.
Like, because I feel like that's at the point where I see a lot of TikToks and men are like, man, she got silent on me. I knew then I was in trouble. You know, it's like you have to hit that wall sometimes with people where you just, when you're at that point where you've completely shut down and you don't even want to speak anymore, you know, it's a very difficult thing because you're holding it all in and it's almost like a volcano, like it's simmering. I feel like that silent treatment is that simmering period before you really just like boom and be like, okay, you want to know what's wrong? Do you know what I mean? Like how do we how can we avoid getting to the point of the silent treatment, and how does that silent treatment like really affect, you know, our relationship?
So the silent treatment, let's start with what it affects, right? The silent treatment is going to affect both of you because now you're the one who has to be strong enough to not talk about anything because you're so mad.
Yes.
So now it's on you to go get everything you need without speaking to him, right? But that's not like affecting you because you're putting in so much work to remember, I ain't talking to him right now. Leave me alone. Don't look at me, kind of thing. And also for him, he doesn't even know what to do because the silent treatment is like, oh, like you said, oh,
I'm in trouble and I stepped in it.
How do I fix it? So he's over
and we
here.
feel like, you know what you did. I shouldn't have to say it.
But he might not know.
And sometimes they could just be dense and not, realize some people you have to like really put it in their face.
And putting it in the face, like really having, it's the connection, the communication, right? And like, I feel like the silent treatment is harder for the woman than for the man, because now you're focused on like, I have to be the strong one. I'm not going to bring my silence. I'm going to be cold-hearted. Don't talk to him. Don't sleep in the same bed. And it just goes on and on and on until it finally breaks, right? And you're right. Like it might explode, or the husband has to be the one to be like, all right, honey, like we got to sit down and talk, right? But what if he doesn't do that? What if he doesn't say, honey, let's sit down and talk? He just minding his own business, like she's gonna get over it, and
you never get to the heart of the matter,
and so we don't get to the root of the problem because we never talked about it. And yes, we love the fact that our husband might be like, you want something to eat for dinner? And then it's like, oh, game over, right? But no, we still have to have that conversation, the hard conversation, because of the fact that we were that mad to not talk to him within the 24 hours or 10 hours, whatever hours that you prolong to be silent, right? But that is harder on the woman because we are emotional.
Yes.
And we love to talk in terms of telling them what's going on, how things are going. So it affects us more than them. But let's avoid it. And how do we avoid it? Let's connect before it gets to that point. If there is something bothering you, why don't you say it? Because you're scared. You want to avoid the fight. But avoiding the fight then might really define and help us not get to that level of silent, right?
Yeah.
So it even, like, it could be the trash can. Like, no one took out the trash can and we're just really upset. But now we, like, added it, loaded, and we just keep loading and loading and loading. And now we have so much in us that we're so upset. And he does not remember that Monday he did not put out the trash, Yeah. But we expect that he does remember. So now we're silenced, And so we really have to remember, as a woman, as a person that has the feelings, and we have so much power to do the change. And it's up to us to say, you know what? I don't want to live this life. I don't want to give you a silent treatment every other month or every other week. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. So what can we do together to avoid that, to avoid getting to that point? But if we don't talk about it and we don't realize and like make it easy for all of us, we don't have no system in place. We just assume that he knows that if there's no dinner, then he needs to cook dinner or order some DoorDash. Well, he doesn't know. Systems, put in systems in your house, whatever that means for you, right? Because we all don't have the same resource. We don't all have the same help, but avoid the part of comparison with others, other couples, other marriages, like avoid that and allow yourself to really dive in to what you and your husband need at that very moment. Yeah. Our seasons change. Like, think about when you first started, when you got married, right? You had no kids, right? And then you have kids. Then your kids now are grown. They're in college. So you and your husband have changed, right?
Right.
So allow the growth to keep going, but it's up to you to decide how you want your marriage to look like. Not outside, what it looks like inside your house.
Yeah, not a fake social media marriage.
And it doesn't,
what it really is to you.
And it's what happens in the closed doors, right? And it's what we need to learn how to really reflect. And like, even if that is weekly scheduling, like an appointment with you and your husband, like leave the house, go to find a coffee shop, go outside to the backyard, whatever that takes for you to connect with him and let him know, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. How am I feeling? Because you don't know what they're going, like, as a woman, there's multiple relationships that you're dealing with. You're dealing as a daughter, a friend, a coworker, a boss, trying to build a business. Like, you're doing all so much. You have so many relationships that you're trying to maneuver, right? And like, your husband is like your safe spot. And he should know your ugly, your sadness, your happiness. But it's about us communicating and allowing us to connect, communicate, and build. together, not separate. You know?
Yeah. You feel like though when you're at that point where you feel like you're just kind of where you feel like maybe your trust has been broken or you felt this disconnect for so long, do you feel like it's possible, to be able to rebuild, the foundation of it all? Is it possible to rebuild it? Yeah.
And I will say it's yes, and I'm gonna say it really loud and proud. I feel it's a yes. But if nothing changes, nothing will get better. And that I'm saying, like, let's just say there's a big situation or whatever. If you don't get a third party to come and help you, you're gonna go back to your bad habits. And those bad habits are gonna resent and make you feel like I should have not gave that second chance because nothing changed. Yes, we could all apologize. We could all say, hey, I'm sorry. We're going to work on it. But if you don't get a third party to help you, chances are you're going back to the same habits. And now you're just prolonging what you should have done at the beginning. And that could be therapy, coaching. That could be speaking to someone at church, something to help you. Because there's no way that you're going to change immediately just because after that part that you didn't trust that person. And yeah, it might look smooth and easy, but then like if you don't clear that up, that root is still there and that resentment starts building up. And that resentment will make you do things that you probably wouldn't do if you would have spoken to that. If you would have done the third party where someone could have come in and say, you know what, this is what y'all need to do. This is what you need to work on and really work on it, right? Because there's accountability now. And it's not just like, you know what? Okay, she was always upset because I didn't throw out the trash. But maybe it's not the trash can. Maybe it's not that you don't cook dinner. Maybe it's more than that.
Yeah, she doesn't feel appreciated or vice
Valued
versa.
Or seen. Yeah. Or maybe even your husband doesn't feel seen.
Exactly.
Because you're so busy with your kids. Because you're so busy building your friendships. Because you're so busy doing other things, right? And it not only women want to be felt, seen, and value.
Right.
Your husband does too.
Absolutely. I had a friend, and she said it was okay for me to talk about it. So she had a miscarriage. And so she had all this love and support. Everybody is, coming to check on her and holding her and bringing her food and bringing her books and just trying to uplift her. And like nobody even like said anything really to her. Yeah, nobody. Exactly. And so he definitely felt, some type of way. He definitely felt down in the dumps and he had to really deal with his grief. He kind of felt like he was dealing with his grief all on his own because sometimes their feelings get denied, or when they feel like they're trying to be vulnerable, maybe it's not masculine, or they should just suck in their tears and deal with all their pain on their own. So I definitely see how it goes both ways, that we have to check on them and make sure that their emotional state is where it needs to be as well.
And we really don't know. I mean, I'm not a guy, so I don't know, but maybe they carry more than we carry, right? Financially, the house got to be fixed or something breaks down. It's them that need to fix it, right? Or they have to contact someone to get it fixed or whatever the case is. But like, we don't really know what they carry, right? But even that experience of him feeling alone, because that is so true. Like someone has a miscarriage, it's like we directly go to the woman, right?
Yeah, because she endured it physically. Yes, absolutely.
And we don't even acknowledge him to say, hey, are you good? How are you feeling? How did you accept that,
Right.
So, yeah, I think we all want to be seen. We all want to be valued. And we all have different ways to showing how we love and how we want to be loved.
Yes. And that's what I want to talk to you about next is this whole, dealing with love languages and, trying to get the love that you want or the love that you feel that you need, and also being able to do the same for someone else. Can you kind of break down a little bit, just like the love languages, what they are, and just kind of like how it works?
Absolutely. So there's 5 love languages, and there's going to be a first one and a second one. The first one will always be like how you grew up. The second one, you kind of like endorse it, build it as you see how life has treated you. But there is act of service. So like doing your picking up groceries or washing dishes, right? Affirmations, like words of affirmations, like, oh, you're doing a great job. You look beautiful. Like, you know, and I'm not going to say that's only for women. Men like that too.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
You know, give them a little, hey, you look good today. Oh, I like your haircut. Give them a little something too, you know? Like, it's not always expecting like, I look good. Like, he needs to acknowledge me.
Yeah,
what about
it's a two-way street. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so service, words of affirmation. What is the other one? Oh, hold on.
I know. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Fine, you're fine. And so words, acts, gifts. People love gifts. Like if you grow up with gifts. And then the other one is, I can't believe I can't remember because they're
you honestly, do remember them. I know, but you don't have to just like name them outright like that. Okay. It's just, I just wanted to talk about, because I know I don't like to be put on the spot, because the second you put me on the spot, then I don't remember anything, that I want to say. But just dealing with different love languages, because I am an acts of service person. Like, I love to cook for my family. That's one way that I show them love. Like, I like to feed them. And I'm very much a touch person. Like, physical touch is big for me. Like, I want to be hugged. Like, even with my clients, before they sit down in the chair, I give everybody a hug, And of course, the words of affirmation, it's always nice to have that reassurance. It's like, but before my husband goes to work, I'm going to give him a kiss and a hug and tell him I love him, have a good day, babe. It's like the things that I want. I feel like we express our love languages in a way that we put it on someone else and we expect them to reciprocate the exact same ones back to us.
And that doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
Because we all grew up differently. And we all accept things. Our perspectives are very different. Right. No matter if we've lived, you and your sister or your brother, your sibling, don't see life the same way.
No, we don't. Yes.
And you also don't love the same way. And you don't receive love the same way. So, yes, there's like, you could go to 5lovelanguage.com and get the test done and you figure out like which one is your love language. But it could also be that you could have all 5 of them.
Yes, I think it's a combination of things, because for my husband, his love language is like, he changed the brakes on my car. To him, it's like, there you go. But some people will be like, well, I want flowers and da-da-da-da-da. But for me, like, I appreciate those things. It's like, okay, I have new brakes and he did an oil change. Yay. And he filled my car up with gas. That to me, like, that shows like he's servicing my needs and taking care of things that behind the scenes that I may not even recognize or realize. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all these things got done. There's new tires on my car, So I like to make sure when somebody does something for me, it's very important for me to thank them, because I want people to understand that I appreciate that they don't have to take the time to do these things, but I appreciate it, And I just think it comes with growth and time. We've been married a very long time, and we had a period of, a couple of years where I didn't think we were going to be together. I thought, oh, you know what? I think this is done. Like, I think this is it. Like, when you hit a really rough patch of just stress and dealing with certain things and trust issues and just all kinds of stuff, and you just feel like I can't do this anymore. But then, it takes, like you said, that coming together and really deciding, what do you want? Like, do we really feel that we're still right for each other, that we are the partners that we want for the rest of our lives? And, you do have to make a change and decide and be like, hey, we're going to connect more, spend more time together, not take each other for granted. So we really had to have that kind of like, almost like come to Jesus moment of the marriage and be like, okay, do we want to say, is this worth saving? That's why I was asking you about being able to like rebuild a foundation, because I know we did that within our own marriage, but I'm like, when you've been with someone for 20 years, 25 years, like it's a lot, it's a lot. And you learn, you change, you grow, but it's like, you're either going to grow apart or you're going to grow together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, have you realized that a lot of people get divorced after the kid goes to high school or college? And why is that?
I was going to ask you about that empty nest kind of syndrome and what happens at that point.
Well, like, if you don't have any other hobbies or any desires because you were just so focused on developing and goals for your kids, that you forgot about yourself, right? You forgot about your husband. You were just so focused on all the practices of sports and all the other stuff, being present for your kids, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing whatsoever. Like, I love my kids so much too, right?
Yes.
But we have to prioritize our marriage.
Because those kids are going to grow up and they're going to move away. And if they were the only glue that was holding you together and you didn't focus on your relationship, then, it almost feels like you're having to learn each other all over again because you were so focused on like raising your family and you didn't pour into yourselves as a couple.
Yeah. And like, even if it was just that you and him connected only on to-do lists, who's going to do what? Or this is, just updates on calendar updates, right? But we really didn't talk about what's your dream now? All right, you accomplished this. Now, what do you want to do now? We stopped talking about things of dreaming together or believing in each other, right? Because we were just so focused on that. So those that are in the midst of that, like, they have to really learn, hey, what else do I like besides going to the sports, besides taking my kid to the movies, dropping them off, picking them up, and doing all the things, right? For them to have a good childhood experience, right? But you got to build in, add in your life. And it's not another add like a to-do list check mark kind of thing. Avoid the check mark idea of like, oh, well, if I do a dinner date with them on Saturday, we're good for next week. Like, no, it's not like that. Even if it's 10 minutes a day, connect with him, to talk to him, tell him what's going on in your life, right? Because we all got 60,000 thoughts running in our brain all day long. What if you share what's really going on in your life? So he could be part of it and not separate. And let's just say if we go back to like the mom doing it all, the mom is doing it all and then she's doing it all for the kids. Now the kids are gone. Now what has she got to go for, to look for, right? That Friday night, that Saturday night, like Sunday prepare, like there's no preparing no more, right? And you don't have a connection with your husband either. So now you really feel lonely.
Yeah, you realize you didn't build a friendship. You and your spouse didn't take the time to build a friendship. Yeah, absolutely.
And so avoiding that is putting yourself in those uncomfortable conversations. And it's going to be weird if you never had the 101, 10-minute chat with your husband. It might feel uncomfortable, but build on it. Maybe it's 5 minutes the first time, right? Or even Google or Pinterest some questions to ask him, to get to know him more, get to know him again. Because we all change. No matter how we look at life, we look back and it's like, I did this. Like, for example, for me, I could say I went on a broadcast on 2025 as my first time, right? And now I get to share that experience with my husband, before I share with anyone else. So those are things that just try new things by yourself, try new things with your spouse to experience those new things and have those experience, right? So if you are in that stage of your kids are about to go to high school or college or, they're 21 or something, find hobbies, do something for yourself more than anything. Absolutely. You've got to find something that you love and you have passion. And like, it's okay to try something. And then it's like, you know what? This is not for me. That's okay. At least you tried. Stop being so scared of trying new things. We all start somewhere.
Yes.
We all got to start somewhere.
I love that. What? Okay. Because one of my clients, she was like, "Can you ask her this?" So I was like, "Yeah." She said, "What advice would you give to someone who feels that they feel like they have to change who they are for their partner?" Because she met someone and she just really, you kind of, I feel like you're still in that new phase and you kind of fall head over heels for someone. But I feel like when you are at that point where you feel like you're having to change or pretend, like it was a comedian, he said, when you meet someone for the first time, you're really just meeting their representative. You're not really meeting like that real person. So what are your thoughts on that she's wondering and feeling like, that she has to change who she is to be with this other person to fit into their lifestyle?
Yeah.
That kind of, I don't know, that didn't sit well with me. So I'm like, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So first of all, we gotta just really take a deep breath and really realize, like, why am I here? Like, what do I really want from this relationship? Do I want to push myself to grow? Is the best side of me coming out? Is he seeing something that I'm not seeing that I could do better? Then I need to do it, right? But what if I'm changing and I keep changing and it's not good enough? Now I'm feeling I'm not good enough for him. I'm not good enough for his circle. I'm not good enough for his family. So now my doubts, my insecurities are building up. And so now I don't know where I stand, right? Yeah. But this is all inner work. And we got to realize that I'm all for changing to become better. But if your values are a certain way and you're doing that for certain things and he wants you to change those values, then it's up to you to decide, is it worth me changing my values, my core values, the things that I desire, my lifestyle for me to fit in? Or am I going to be okay with being single and allowing myself to find someone that we complement each other, we embrace, we build together, we grow together, we want more for each other? There's a difference of how people want to change you, right?
Right.
Okay, like, let's just say change your hair color. That's one thing, right? But like when they're trying to change you for the things that
to suit their lifestyle better, for you to fit into their little box.
Well, example, let's just say he works out 5 days a week and you're like, I don't work out at all. So I'm going to start working out at the gym with him, right? But I don't have the passion for that. And it's okay, right? But it's up to me to decide, like, hey, is this worth my while for the rest of my life? Because 20 years from now, I'm not going to be okay with going to the gym 5 days a week because he decided that's my change that I need to do to be part of his life. Or, hey, you know what? Let me push back. Have the conversation with him like, hey, that doesn't fit with me. That doesn't align with my life. And I'm not saying like 5 years from now wouldn't, right? But if it doesn't align with your beliefs, your core values, then you need to think about it. Like, is it worth it? More than anything, is it worth being in that relationship where you can be your full, truth, authentic self? Yeah. It's so important to be true to yourself more than anyone. Yeah. Because everyone already is taken. So you need to be you for who you are, for what you want to be, for what you want to stand for, because everyone else is taken. You don't have to represent and try to be someone you're not. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. Like, it doesn't matter the age anymore, right? It really matters. It's up to you in your core. Like, does this fit right? Does this feel good? Does your gut saying, do it because it's going to make you a better woman? Or is it saying, you know what, this ain't right for us. This is not for me, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay to walk away. Yeah. We are always so scared of walking away because it's like, oh, what
I need I'm someone better. Oh, yeah,
it's so hard. Like, you don't understand because you're married now. You don't know
how it is out here.
There. Yeah, online dating is so hard. Okay.
And they ignore red flags.
Because we're so ready to get married. We want a wedding. We want that wedding dress. We want to look cute that day, you know? But what if we just really sit with our thoughts and be like, is this really what I want for the rest of my life? Because no one goes to the altar to say, you know what, I'm just doing this for 5 years and then I'm going to tap out and get a divorce. We don't go to the altar thinking that we're going to get divorced. Now, things happen. Circumstances do happen. And I believe that divorce does happen for certain people because it has to happen, right? In terms of if someone's abusing you any way or other way, like, you need to find your way out, right? Yes. I'm 100% like, if someone's beating you, please find a way to get out. You deserve to live in a happier life. But no one goes in there thinking we're going to get a divorce, right? So why can't we look at the red flags before we even get to the altar, before we even get the ring? Like, let's think about, like, stop thinking of...
You need to acknowledge those red flags and see, you know, what your deal breakers
face value. Do the face value. Stop thinking, oh, but he has a good job. He has X, Y, and Z. Like, the resume, the paper, amazing.
Some look so good. Yeah, some people
Yes.
look so good on paper, but they may not be the best person for you. You
And
may
the
not be
personality-
emotionally compatible.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many more things to consider than just where they work, what they do, you know.
Or what they look like. 'Cause,
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
we're all gonna get old and ugly, okay? That's the truth, all right?
Yes.
At the end of
we're
the day,
trying to age gracefully, but it's coming for all of us.
we're
It's
all
coming
gonna get
all of us.
old and ugly. And we are gonna be okay with that, right?
That's right.
But you want to be with someone that is going to love you for who you are.
Inside and out. Yes.
And it's more, and we are all changing in so many ways. We evolve and we build from what we are learning, and we relearn things and we let go of things that don't serve us no more, right? Childhood trauma, relationship trauma, like we are trying to be better, right? But you really have to be authentic to yourself. Like what really fits you? What is going to really make you happy?
Yeah.
Because your happiness is worth more than the money that you could build, the lifestyle that you want and you dream of. What if it at the end you're going to get there, right? And it might take you longer because you're doing it by yourself, but it's okay. But the red flags have to, like, I agree. The red flags are there and we just avoid it. Because we have this vision and
because we're doing the rose-colored glasses thing, so we're looking at other things. Oh, he's so handsome. Oh, he's so this or that. But at the end of the day, you're actually truly not compatible in anything as far as, you know, that person's values versus yours. So I absolutely see what you're saying.
And it's okay to say, I'm walking away. Like, stop being so scared of you and walking away and starting all over. You'd rather start all over now than down the road when it's like you
Children
feel like
could
it's
possibly
too late.
be involved,
like you
or you
feel like it's
you
too
feel
late,
stuck
but
or
it's not.
trapped.
Yeah. And feeling stuck is so even harder to let go, right? Because you're like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna wait it out. But we're not getting help, so nothing is getting better. It's more of like we're just hoping that, you know, life just throws us the curveball of like knock on their head and be like, oh yeah, you know what? We're gonna be happy now. Like, it doesn't work that way. You got to put in the work.
Absolutely.
So I will say, if you're in that situation, realize that you are the most important person in this whole world. So it's up to you to decide what is the most important thing for you. Not what all of us say, but what is more important to you. And really sit with your thoughts and allow yourself to say, hey, you know what? I might not be happy with him for the rest of my life. So maybe I should step out away from this situation and move on. And if it takes me 5 more years to find someone that's everything that I want, then let it be.
Don't be afraid of the time. I guess I feel like sometimes, you know, women hear their like biological clocks and things like that. Like if you want to start a family, so, you know, you'll feel like, well, I guess I better settle down with him because, you know, I want children and I'm 34 or I'm 35, you know.
No.
And I guess I would be of the mindset of, well, I guess I'm freezing these eggs because he's not the one. Because to spend your life, to think of, because I do feel like marriage is a lifetime commitment. To spend your life with someone is such a huge deal. And like you said, like, you know, just going through and checking boxes, you know, I got married young in my 20s. My husband was in his 20s. And so, yeah, financially, we weren't like amazing. We built together, you know, we built together. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like coming together as that starting block and building your foundation together and growing. Yes. You know, I think that's a beautiful thing. But I know like nowadays, a lot of people like they want it right now. They're like, no, he better have, you know, 6 figures right now and da-da-da-da. And I totally understand that. But it's like sometimes to expect something from somebody who may be like 24, 25, like that's a lot nowadays. Like, you know, everybody's working their butts off, I feel like. And I just feel like everybody should appreciate each other for who they are and what they, you know, bring like emotionally also, not just financially. Yes, you want someone who you can build with, who has amazing potential, who's a hard worker, because I'm not saying by any means be with a slug. I would never. I do not advocate for that. No. But I don't think there's anything wrong with 2 people coming together and building a great life together. I think it's a beautiful thing. And it really makes you appreciate everything you have because you see how far you come. Like my husband and I were like, remember when we lived in an apartment and then we bought our first house and now we bought our second house. And, you know, you see that journey and you look back on it and you're like, wow, we did that together, you know? But I wanted to ask you something about boundaries, and not just within your relationship with your spouse or your partner, but like even with your family members, you know, finding respectful ways to like set boundaries just to keep your sanity and your peace.
Yeah. So I grew up like always hanging out with my aunts, uncles, and cousins. And now I have kids and we don't do that, right? Everyone's busy, right? But those are boundaries also that I've put in, right? Because I can't be at somebody's house every Saturday. Like what my parents had, that experience of allowing us to have family time, right? And family time doesn't mean the same what it meant for my parents, and that's okay, you know? Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to rebuild or redo everything that you had as a child, right? So for me, the boundaries start with you. At work, with your friends, with your acquaintance, with your spouse, everything. Like there has to be boundaries for everything. Boundaries with drinking, you know? Very uncomfortable conversation, but there has to be boundaries too, you know? So how much you consume or you don't consume on social media, you know, that has to be boundaries too. Because if you get caught up in always looking at and consuming so much, you start thinking my life is no good and I don't have no boundaries. I'm just going to do everything, right?
Yeah,
but
just kind of on overload all the time. Yeah.
And you have to like take a step back. So boundaries start with you and you have to decide and you have the choice to do what you want and how it can happen. Do calendar. Use your calendar. It's Outlook, Google, whatever it is. It's free. Print out a page. Write it down. Like find ways to make yourself more organized. Because boundaries start with being organized.
Okay.
Boundaries even decluttering your house. Because those are boundaries. Because Marshalls, TJ Maxx, they have amazing things and we want to buy everything, right? But you don't have to. We don't have to be what we see on social media. We don't have to be what the neighbor has. So those are boundaries that you put in your life. How much you buy for your home. Groceries, those are boundaries.
Yeah, you're
like,
spending. Yes.
You're spending. So those are boundaries that you're putting like, you know what? We're only going to do $150 this week. Yeah, and that's a boundary that you're putting.
Yes, so your budgets can be boundary. Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So you have to have boundaries for everything in life.
Yeah.
It's not only your friends. Oh, those are toxic friends. So I'm going to have boundaries. I'm only going to see them once a month. No, that is not just the boundary that you have. You have to focus that you are going to become who you want to become when you put in the boundaries that you want to become that person that you want to become. And if that makes sense, like, where you're at right now is the better version that you were 5 years ago or even a year ago. And now where you're at is your foundation to building where you're going.
Yeah.
So allow yourself to have those boundaries.
Wow. That made so much sense.
Yeah.
I really love that you say boundaries have to do with organization because that's kind of like a clarity moment for me because that's so true. It's like, you set boundaries for everything else. Hey, this is the budget this month for entertainment. This is the budget this month for groceries. And like, you don't cross those lines. Like, we respect this number. This is where we're at. I remember when my sister was getting her master's degree, she was like, hey, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I have to study. Like I 9 a.m. to 12 noon, I'm in class. I study from 3 to 6 p.m. Like she set boundaries, organization for school to get that degree that she wanted. Like you have to set so many boundaries in your life.
Yes.
And so when you think of it in that sense, it makes it easier to set boundaries in relationships and be like, look, hey, I can do girls' night once a month, guys. That's all I've got because, I've got my husband. We're trying to do date night and spend more time together. Then the kids have a few events. So look, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I can do. And setting boundaries is not something that has to be done in a disrespectful way. You're just keeping it real and being honest about what you can and can't do and what you can and can't tolerate. Wow, but putting it in that vein of organization, come on, Nanci, girl, that was a bar. Okay.
Oh yeah.
That really really put that in perspective for me because you literally have boundaries in all these different aspects of your life, but you don't think of it as a boundary. You just think, okay, this is the budget for this or that. But that
That's a
actually is a
boundary.
boundary that you don't cross.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, like, you have to put the boundaries, the system in place for it to all grow and be where you want to be.
All the cogs in the machine are working and operating to keep everything going full steam ahead.
We got to just keep on
Girl.
going. We can't stop. You know what I mean? You are already the best version of yourself right now, but allow yourself to even become the better version later in life when you're building to get to the next step, right?
Yes.
You can't. People making more money. Yes, you're going to make more money, but you got to be where you're at, ground yourself, accept yourself, and allow yourself to develop there and become the best. And then you're ready for the next step. And you're ready for the next step. Stop rushing to get the next step. Stop rushing to get married. Slow down and reflect. Is this the guy that I really want in the relationship? Even friendships.
Yes.
Like, oh, but I know her for 20 years. Okay.
But is that relationship still serving you? Do you still have things in common with this person?
Me, yes.
Do you know what I mean? You have to think about all those things because, like you said, we're so afraid to cut people out of our life. But it's like that. I just don't feel like that should be something that you should be concerned about. If you and this person are not on the same wavelength anymore, it's okay to say, you know what? Maybe we should, part ways and find better relationships in our life.
And if we come back
that's
together,
okay. Some people are just in your life for a season, and that's all right. You don't need to like trudge along and do all kinds of things that you don't want to do. It doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And especially like, let's just say example is you want to become sober, right? Like your goal for 2025 is I'm not drinking anymore. So girl nights might look different now, right?
Right.
And so maybe the friends that you currently have, maybe they like to drink every weekend and maybe that's not for you anymore.
Yes.
And that's okay to say, hey, you know what? Y'all could come over. We could do candlelight or we could do cooking class or something. And, after a while, if they're like, no, I want to drink. I'd rather be at the club and drink. Then that's okay.
That's okay.
That's your
then
boundary to say, hey, this is not for me no more. And I'm okay with that.
Yes.
It's not sending a long ass message to them saying,
no,
oh, I love you, but da 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 da. No. We're all adults. We all got a life. We're all busy. Allow ourselves to put that boundary in there and be like, you know what? Maybe 2025 is me being sober and maybe me distancing from these friends. That doesn't mean I'm better than them and they're not better than me. We're just going to take our own space.
We're just on different journeys right now.
And then
that's it.
Hey, if we have a football game and we want to all go together, let's do it. There doesn't have to be hate. There doesn't have to be an explanation and doesn't have to be rude.
Right.
Remember to be kind to everyone. We don't know what everyone is experiencing in life right now. And we all have so much in our plate, period.
Right.
So yeah.
I love
boundaries are important.
So important. And that was a really good example because if you're on a completely different path, it's okay to say, hey, maybe our paths will cross again at a later time. Absolutely. But for right now, this relationship is not for me because I'm on a different wavelength right now. Like I'm trying to focus on something else and alcohol's not a part of it. And that's fantastic because you don't want to be in situations where you're feeling like peer pressure to do things.
Just one more drink. Just one drink.
So that friend can't support you at where you're at right now. And that's okay. Let them go party and have a good time. They just can't be in your little circle right now because they're leading a different lifestyle. They're out there and they're doing their thing and that's okay. You go do your own thing.
Yeah.
And
it's okay to say, hey, right now, I really want to do this. And 2025, I want to be sober. Like, I don't want to drink. So find the way to, be honest to yourself and also be transparency. Like, allow that to be transparency to your friends. Don't dodge the ball.
You don't have to sugarcoat. You don't have to sugarcoat it or dodge the bullet. Yeah, exactly. You are, hey, like I said, I'm not on this path with you guys anymore. Y'all have fun. You know what I mean? I'll catch you later.
Yeah.
I'll catch you at a sober event, like you said, a cooking class or something. All good. But you don't have to explain all your life choices to someone else. It's not necessary. That's not your spouse. It's not your life partner. You're not making changes that are going to affect their life. It's just affecting your life. Yeah. So that's okay. There doesn't need to be all that,
long message.
It's not necessary.
Hurting somebody's feelings.
It's not necessary. Just go be you and go do your own thing. Yes. Girl, let it go. Let it go. Okay. One other thing I want to ask you about.
Yes.
Because I know you talk a lot about this. Why do you feel it's so important to set a good example of a loving relationship for your children?
So, first of all, you influence the people around you. Even though you think you're not an influencer because you don't have XY amount followers on social media, in real life, you're an influencer for your neighbors. You're an influencer for the people around you, work, everything. Like everyone is an influencer by some way or another, right? Maybe not 100% you're influencing someone, but you are carving the way for someone else. And you're shaping these little humans that are going to become adults, that are one day will become fathers or priests or mothers or whatever the case. But childhood really affects everyone because we all experience the childhood. And the childhood, like I said, you have siblings. Our perspectives are very different. Even though we live together,
we grew up in the same house.
We had the same parents. We had everything the same.
Yes.
There was nothing different. But you saw something very different than your sibling, your sister. Your sister saw it very different.
Yes. I'm a middle child, and, I have an older sister and a younger brother, and we definitely all, even though we have all similar core values, but we all view life completely differently. And same mom and dad, same house, grew up, military base, bounced around, so yeah, absolutely. What you're saying is 100% true.
And you said that, and like, even if you like, hey, y'all remember when we went to the basketball game?
Yes.
And everyone says, yeah. But your brother probably remembers one thing, you remember another thing, your sister remembers another thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we all went to the same place with the same people. Yes. We did everything the same. We got everything the same. Like, we all got the sodas, we all got the popcorn and everything. But we all just
had a different experience, though. We all went to the same place, but we each had a different experience.
So the experience is so important. But more than anything, the childhood, and let's stop trying to be perfect and let's just really connect. The connection that you're building, the slowing down, like really submit yourself to be there, right there. Kids grow up way too fast.
Absolutely.
Like
too quick. I can't believe my little niece that is my whole world is already 6, and it just, and my kids are grown. I have 2 adults and 1 in high school. It is crazy. It goes so quickly. But I do think I agree with you that it's super important to set that example because you are an influencer in your own home. Your kids see how you interact with your spouse, and that is their first vision or lesson of what love is supposed to look like, is seeing, mommy and daddy. That's their first, look at that, And
also, like, think about it like this. You're influencing your daughter a certain way, and the way your husband treats you, it's probably the chances of the same way or similar husband that she will find if she decides to get married, kind of thing,
Right.
And just like, even I'm sure your husband has some qualities that remind you of your dad. You know what I mean? And you probably have this similar something that reminds him of his mom. Like if his mom was a hard worker and you're a hard worker, it reminds you, right? So we have to remember that what we treat and how we show up at home is more important than what we do outside. Because this childhood is very slim to small of a time frame, but it impacts you so much. People have childhood trauma because they didn't resolve anything when they were like in their 20s or something, And I am a believer that we have to find our own help. If you decide that you want to become more at peace, more loving, more caring for who you are without the resentment, or I didn't experience that because my parents were alcoholics, or whatever the case is, it's up to you. Like, you cross the line and be like, I'm going to go
get the help I need. I'm stopping it here.
And it stops here.
Yes.
We are not going to continue with that cycle.
Yes.
My family is not going to go with that experience. We're moving on. You know what I mean?
You have to break that cycle and decide what you want for your life and for the life of your family and your kids. Absolutely.
And you're not just raising children, you're raising adults, because they're going to be adults longer than what they are for a child.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So remembering, like, that's the next president of the company, president of the world, CEO, like building his own business, like gardener, chef, like there's so many opportunities that your kid is going to be. You don't know. You could aim to be for them a basketball player, but we don't know if they're going to be a basketball player. They might want to be, airplane something or whatever the case is. So we have to allow to be the influence inside the house and be the best version of yourself starts with you more than anything. We can't keep telling them, oh, you don't do that. But they see you cussing and cursing and saying bad words. Now you expect your kid to not say bad words. Allow that to be okay.
Yeah, the old school do as I say, not as I do, and not setting like the best, because that's what they would do. Like they wouldn't set a good example and they will say, oh, well, just do as I say and not as I do. I remember things like that. So you do want to set the best example that you can set for your kids, but they also need to know that you're not perfect, so that they don't feel like they have to live up to some impossible standard. It's like we're not perfect. We're just doing our best to raise you and to give you all the things that we want you to have and things that we feel like you deserve, especially when you've done a good job. We want you to know that we're proud of you. Yes. But I agree with you. It's like you see some people that push their kids, like to be athletes, or they're more of a coach than they are, a parent. And like you say, want to be, be an athlete. And it's like, well, no, I want to be an airplane pilot. I don't want to do this. But you can make them feel almost claustrophobic in their life. Like they have to live up to these, possibly unrealistic expectations that you have. Just be the best example that you can be and just give them as much love and support as you possibly can. Yeah. But just always remember to keep cultivating your relationship and learning and growing with your spouse. Because like you say, eventually these kids, they're going to be 21 and gone out of the house, and then you're going to be left there with your spouse. And it's like, are you going to know that person or not? Are you really going to roll with this person till the wheels fall off?
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate you coming here and talking with me today. Girl, you're just a little wealth of knowledge, and I love your personality. I love how you're just so caring and so open, and how you just like jump right in and go for it. Like, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And like your coaching sessions, I think are incredible. I've heard really good things.
Thank you.
So can you just tell everybody how they can like get in touch with you if they want to book a coaching session with you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Like,
of course, my love.
I took the whole day off work because I was like, look, we're not going to do this semi thing. Like, this is a big deal for me because it's my first time.
You wanted to go all the way in, and I'm here for it, and I love it.
When you do something, do it with your biggest heart ever. Like, don't just do something. Just do it all, Yeah. So thank you for this experience.
Of course, my darling.
You could find me at the Nanci Sanchez on Instagram. Also, email is thenancisanchez@gmail.com.
Now, Nancy with an I, not with a Y.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes.
Want to make sure they know. Yes.
But thank you so much. This was really fun. And I hope that you experience something good and you take some value and take whatever you need and leave whatever you don't. But share it with your friends. You never know. You could experience this with your friends and talk about it later.
All right. Well, thank you, my darling. Hugs and kisses. All right, you guys. We wish you love and hugs and good mental health. And take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.